What is up, guys? It's your boy Mamaloy back with another video, and as promised, today is the Q&A video. So thank you to all of you that asked questions. I was figuring I could sit out here with my coffee, answer your questions, and I was also figuring that'd be boring. Now this is much better. Nothing weird here, just a dude answering other dudes' questions in a bubble bath on the internet. What am I doing with my life? Anyways, we have a question from Ellie and Maddie Bongani, and they ask, in your opinion, does squatting help deadlifts more, or does deadlifting help with squatting more? Referring to good form and better lifts. Oh shit. I would say deadlifting to help your deadlift, and squatting to help your squat. Moving on. I'm kidding, dude, I'm not gonna be that mean. But seriously, I don't think there's a definitive answer here. Yes, squatting is gonna help your deadlift. Yes, deadlifting is gonna help your squat. But trying to argue if one's gonna help more than the other is kind of a moot point. If you're actively doing both, then it's something you don't really have to worry about. And if your question is instead, I want my deadlift to go up over my squat, what I tell you to do is put your deadlift earlier in the week. So Monday would be your competition deadlift day, and then later on you do your squat, maybe Tuesday. The other thing I tell you is maybe you reduce some of your squat frequency to be able to increase your deadlift frequency. So if that's something you're into, that might be something to look at as well. But arguing if the squat's gonna help the deadlift more than the deadlift's gonna help your squat, I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, so this next question is from a friend of mine in college, and we bonded by beating the crap out of each other in martial arts room at Pitt. You make friends in weird ways in college. His question is, how you doing? Winky face. And to that I say, how you doing? Okay, this is actually a really good question. I feel bad answering this in a bubble bath. So, Alvaro asks, can I spread the volume of a certain exercise out, for example squats, during the week? Or is there a benefit in performing a certain amount of volume in a single session in order to produce a specific amount of stress? For example, with squatting one set 3 times a week, yield the same results as squatting those 3 sets in a single session. So the reason I like this question so much is it's kind of the basis behind higher frequency training. So you consider you have a single training day with your 3 sets, and in this example we'll say they're RPE 9. You finish that first set at RPE 9, realistically speaking, the next 2, you're not going to be most likely able to repeat the same weight at the same bar speed with the same technique. Now, we spread those 3 sets over the course of the week. We're much more able to hit the same weight, the same bar speed, same technique. Arguably, we might be able to hit higher weights throughout the week, and at the very least, it's all going to be the same weight, same bar speed, same intensity. So it's going to be better for our strength progress. We're lifting more weight overall throughout the week. You take this idea and spread it out to, say we had to get 50 reps of squats done throughout the week. What do you think is going to go better? Doing 50 reps of squats in a single day, or doing 50 reps of squats spread out throughout the week? Of course, 50 reps of squats spread out throughout the week is going to go much better. You're going to be able to keep the intensity up. Your technique's going to be better. You're going to be less sore for the later half of those 50 reps as compared to if you try to squeeze all of those 50 reps in one day. The later half of your reps, if you try to squeeze 50 reps in one day, would not be super heavy, or if they were super heavy, your technique would suffer. So something's gonna suffer if you try and squeeze it in all in one day. So from a strength standpoint, spreading your volume out throughout the week is great, and that's kind of the basis behind higher frequency training, why you'd want to squat 3 times a week. So you could spread out that volume, keep the intensity high, keep your technique good. Well, technique, I don't know. But yeah, if I had to answer this from a hypertrophy standpoint, it'd be a little bit different. Sometimes getting a whole bunch of reps in at one time could be good from a stress standpoint, but from a strength standpoint, spreading out that volume, increasing frequency, always a plus. Great question. Okay, so our next question is from Patrick Bailey, and he asks, sooner or later, you are going to have to address the massive Buddhism fetish. So I'm going to be real with you guys here. This question kind of made me upset. This is just a blatant accusation with no basis in reality. I'm not actually sure where he's getting this from. I'm not sure what videos he watched. So you don't see me attacking you guys in the comment section. So maybe in the future, just not. But he did at least ask a second question, so I will honor that. And he asks, will Pitt be the first team to repeat as Coastal Division winners in 9 years? Or will this be the year we finally get that miraculous 7-way 4-4 tie we've all been waiting for? Okay, Patrick, if there's anything I've learned about watching Pitt football over my 4 years of college, it's that they like to build up your hopes and dreams and then crush them in the most spectacular way possible. My recommendation, go in with your expectations low. That way, anything good that does happen, you'll be happy. And if anything bad happens, you'll already be expecting it. Okay, next question here from John Padlis. Question for Q&A since it's currently an issue for me. What can I do about joint pain? More specifically, I'm having nagging shoulder pain that I re-aggravate when I do pressing movements, but I don't want to wait for weeks and weeks for it to go away. Okay, so first recommendation here is go and watch Austin Baracki's 4 Steps for Pain Management on YouTube. That'll save you a whole bunch of time worrying about other sorts of treatments for your nagging pain. Second tip here, once you've watched that, some variations you could try out would be pin presses. Should take some strain off of your shoulder, and you can find the exact height where pressure is least on your shoulder. Potentially tempo or pause overhead presses as well, where you'll be using a lighter weight but still getting good enough stimulus for your training. For your bench press, you can use the same exact variations as that overhead press, and I'd also look into the slingshot actually. The original purpose of the slingshot was to take some pressure off your shoulders at the bottom of the bench press, contrary to every gym bro's belief of it allowing them to bench 405. The original purpose was to take some pressure off the shoulder. Question from, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. My cue is, how do I reach a 500-pound deadlift? Okay, realistically only 2 things you need to worry about to hit a 500-pound deadlift. Number 1, deadlift. Okay, I'll actually answer the question. What I mean is deadlift frequently. Some people only deadlift once a week because they're afraid they're going to get injured, or it's just too much stress on their CNS if they deadlift multiple times a week. It is not, and I guarantee you can deadlift multiple times a week and your progress will go way faster if you do. And another factor that might be in play here is the possibility that you need to gain some weight. I don't know you personally, so this may or may not be an issue, but for those of you that are slimmer and you're trying to hold on to your 6-pack but you want to get really, really strong, just bite the bullet, gain some weight. It'll do wonders for your strength progress, and you can trim down later and have really strong lifts at the same time. But yeah, I do really think people tend to stress that question a bit too much. You know, how do I get my deadlift up? How do I get my squat up? Or how do I get my bench up? It's just a matter of doing it, guys. And I know that's a boring answer, but do it more frequently, and make sure your body's in a state where it can actually grow and get stronger. Alright, so maybe this isn't the best environment for learning. Take things to the gym. So we had a few questions that wanted me to address this wonderful piece of equipment, the Yoke. And the first one here comes from our friend XW. And first off, shout out to him. He's been following me since I had like 50 subscribers and my channel videos were hot garbage, but he's a trooper. He stayed along for the ride. And his question is, do I prefer high bar or low bar position for my Yoke? Now this is a great question, and one I feel doesn't really have a right or a wrong answer. You'll see people do both. For me, I do prefer the low bar position, both in terms of how comfortable it feels on my back, how easy it is to pick the Yoke, and just carrying the Yoke overall. But this doesn't mean I discount the high bar position completely. In fact, 2 out of my 3 strongman compositions, I've had to use the high bar position for Yoke. I'll end up breaking out the high bar position either when the crossbar on the Yoke is thin, so these Rogue Yokes have a decently thick crossbar that feels comfortable on your back, but when it gets thin, it starts to kind of slide off your back. And then the other reason I'll use the high bar position is when it's actually a super yoke and I can't grab out to the side of the yoke and instead have to grab the center. And both these reasons are simply because the high bar position, it kind of sits stacked on top of me and I don't risk it falling off my back, whereas the low bar position with a thin crossbar or where I can't grab the sides of the yoke, it tends to want to slide off my back, gets all the pressure into my arms, and you know, with 700 pounds on your back, it's not the most comfortable position in the world, so that's when I'll switch to high bar instead of low bar. And that's just one good example of why you need to try out a lot of different implements in Strongman.
You'll figure out the different little quirks between them and what you need to change to feel the most comfortable in terms of your technique for each of them. So no right or wrong answer here. Most strongmen would probably say low bar, but there are instances where you'll use the high bar. So you have to figure it out for yourself. And then our next question comes from David Wanamaker, and he wants some accessory exercises that'll help him get his yoke weight up. And on an obvious level, if your squat and your deadlift increase, your yoke is going to increase as well. And then the other big factor to this equation is just overall core strength and just kind of being able to deal with some pressure, because this thing does like to crush you. And I could list off, a whole bunch of core exercises for you, but I don't think they're going to be the most bang for your buck, and they're just not going to feel the same as this implement does. So what I'd recommend is actually working the yoke in to your programming. 1,001 ways you can do this. In the past, I've actually taken out one of my squat days and replaced it with yoke, and I was actually going fairly heavy on each of those days, around 600 to 700 pounds, and this was for a full 12 weeks with no injuries, so it can be done. It is, mentally taxing, but it can be done without injury. And the other thing you can think about is putting it later on in your workout as more of an accessory. You can do something like an every minute on the minute style workout for 10 minutes, like a lighter yoke weight, maybe 50 to 60%. Work on your form, work on bracing, all that, and it's not gonna be as stressful, and you can work that in a few times a week as well. But yeah, in terms of most bang for your buck and speediest progress, squat, deadlift, and then the yoke itself are gonna help you out the most. All right, that covers the yoke. Our next question here is a Husafell one, so let's go. All right, so Saunders asks, any risk to a bicep tear with a Husafell stone? Nah, not really. Okay, I know you probably want a better answer than that. So yes, realistically, there's a chance that you'll tear your bicep, but it's no more dangerous than doing a deadlift with a switch grip or picking something off the ground like a sandbag. I don't think it's something you should be concerned about, and I understand your fear or your worry here. The Husafell stone does just visually look like a scary position. Having to pick something up in that kind of Zercher position looks scary, but overall you're maintaining this position. You're not doing that dangerous deadlift maneuver where you're going from a bent arm to a straight arm with load. So it's not kind of the same danger level as that kind of maneuver. And realistically, most of the stress should be going more into your back and into your legs with the Husafell stone, as opposed to being supported all on your biceps alone. So, do I think you should worry about tearing your bicep on Husafell? No, not really. You also asked about limb length and how it influences making a carry easier or harder. And realistically, yes, the bigger you are, the more long your limbs are, the more likely you're able to actually grab around something completely. It'll theoretically make it a little bit easier. However, again, it's not something I'd worry about. Whatever your genetics have gifted you with is whatever your genetics have gifted you with, and that's what you're working with. So wouldn't worry yourself too much about that. You also asked about a starting weight. Again, something I can't really tell you. You just got to try it.
I remember watching the old school Elliot Hulse videos where he'd just get mad at the truck that always drove out back, and I never understood, but I understand now. All right, so El Taka asks, any tips for front squatting heavy in a commercial gym without people asking if I do CrossFit? Well, if you were squatting heavy enough, they wouldn't be asking if you're doing CrossFit. I'm kidding, bro. I legitimately never front squat, so yours is probably heavier than mine. Thanks for the question. All right, and Derek Koffel asks, who's your favorite strongman? And this is probably the point in the video where I'm supposed to say Brian Shaw, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I love watching the sport of strongman, but if I said I was rooting for a particular person each time, I'd kind of be lying. I don't know, I'm kind of the same way with sports. I love athletics, but I never got behind really cheering for anyone, so maybe I'm just weird. I don't know. Okay, so my brother's soon-to-be wife asks, how many curls is too many curls? And the answer is, just like a function that doesn't approach a finite value, the limit doesn't exist. All right, guys, so we still got a few questions left, so I figured I could answer them out here on the deck while I eat dinner. Yeah. This is Gatorade. Okay, so first question here is from Computer Cowboy,
And he says, get more followers, bro. Watch your vid on Thrall's page. Thank you. Question. A running program like Couch to 5K alongside a linear progression training program like Texas Method or Mad Cow. Thoughts? I love how this one is worded. Get more followers, bro. Like I'm not even trying. Imagine our friend Computer Cowboy something like this.
Just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Okay, but to answer your question, Computer Cowboy, running a 5K program alongside linear progression, theoretically you should be fine. A big thing you're gonna have to worry about is, you know, how much energy you have over the day. So I don't know you. I don't know how you're gonna respond to both running and lifting at the same time, but it is fairly large energy requirement. And the other thing is, whichever you do second is gonna obviously suffer a little bit. So I do whatever you're prioritizing first in the day, and then the other one second, and understand that it's gonna probably suffer a little bit. So lifting before running sucks, and running before lifting sucks. They both kind of equally suck. You're not getting away from that. You just gotta pick which you're prioritizing, understand the second's gonna suffer, but you should be fine from there. Like I said, it's going to be a fairly high energy requirement. You might need to eat a little bit more, and I'd be on top of your nutrition. But other than that, you should be fine. Probably not going to die. Probably. Okay. Next question from Vincent Van Heck. Heck. Nice video. Thank you. But one question remains. What about fat loss? And he's talking, of course, to my video on exercise does not affect fat loss. Or said differently, when losing weight in a good dietary intervention, does strength exercise affect the ratio of fat versus muscle loss? Good question, and one I honestly should have added into that video, so this is a nice little caveat here. With weight loss, if you are resistance training, the weight you lose is more likely to be fat, and you're more likely to retain the muscle on your body, as opposed to someone who is going through a weight loss intervention with no resistance training. So while I don't think exercise is the best tool we have at our disposal for weight loss, in terms of retaining muscle mass, yes, adding resistance training in would be great as part of your weight loss intervention. Alright, next question. And sorry, I didn't write down the name of whoever asked this one, so I apologize. But, what are some accessory exercises to build up your deadlift? Everyone always hates my answer when I answer this type of question, but if you're going to ask me for accessory exercises for the squat, bench, or deadlift, I'm going to tell you it's either the squat, bench, or deadlift. And I mean that with full sincerity. Specificity is the key to all programming. We're always trying to do exercises that are specific as possible to our fitness goal. So in the case of trying to build a better deadlift, the most specific exercise we can do is a deadlift. So what I'd recommend to you in terms of accessory variations would be variations that are super close to the deadlifts. You know, deficit deadlift, pause deadlift, chain deadlift, band deadlift, rack pulls, block pulls, you name it. But it'd be something that's very similar to the deadlift, you know, as opposed to wacky exercises on a GHD or with resistance bands or dumbbells and all that sort of stuff. And I get what people are asking when they ask this question. They've already probably finished their deadlift and they want some extra exercises to do. But I feel like those small little extra exercises could be better served going into extra sets of deadlift or more frequent approaches to your deadlift. So if you're only deadlifting once a week and you're asking for accessory exercises to your deadlift, my very first recommendation to you would be an extra deadlift day. I know a lot of people are worried that if they start deadlifting more frequently, you know, their CNS is going to be fried, which isn't really a thing. Or they're going to feel super fatigued, or their joints are starting to give up on them, or they're going to have low back pain, all that sort of stuff. I guarantee you, basically everyone can deadlift at least twice a week, so start there. And if you want to throw in a third day without too much stress, what I'll normally do is actually Romanian deadlifts. So they'll still give you that kind of deadlift stimulus. It's kind of an accessory exercise in most people's eyes, and you can't really load it up super, super heavy. So that'd be my recommendation to you. 2 deadlift days. If you want the third one, Romanian deadlifts. From P. McKenna. I missed the free seminar you held a couple months back. Will you be having another one, free or otherwise? No plans for me personally as of right now. That doesn't mean anything. We kind of make things up on the fly, quite honestly. But what is planned is Joe is having a press clinic August 24th, 10 to 1 p.m. And that's $30 to enter. And he'll be teaching strict press, overhead press, and the jerk variation, so push and split jerk. And I'd highly recommend if you can make that, I'd make that. In terms of coaches you can find for overhead movement, Joe's probably one of the best you could ever come across. So highly recommend that one if you can make it. Otherwise, I'm sure there'll be more in the future. Okay, so there were definitely like 3 to 4 more questions from Instagram, and I kind of forgot to save them. I'm sorry. It's not you. It's me. But that'll have to wrap up the video. For those of you that I did like completely disrespect there, I'm sorry. If you want to ask it again on this video, ask it again and it will eventually get answered, or I'll answer it in the comment section. But that'll wrap it up for this Q&A. Hope I answered your questions adequately. Thanks for those of you that made it through the video. I am sweating buckets right now. Thanks so much for checking out the channel, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope to see y'all in future videos. See you guys.